Hello everyone and welcome to another contrast paint video, and today we have for you, based in Gracier, get that out of the way early before I forget to mention it again, we have the vision for Marvel Crisis Protocol floating and phasing through a little bit of rock there. And yes, I know what you're going to say, didn't you say last time when you were doing Hela, don't put capes on first because it makes it hard? Yes, but the problem with vision is that part of the assembly, if you can see, I'm not sure how visible that's going to be, but to get the sockets for the hands and the head, you have to assemble the cape because it forms the back half of the socket. So that was the only way I could see to do it this time. I couldn't see a way to do it without putting the cape on. Now you could guess where the hands go, but then you might not get a smooth finish when you eventually do add the cape in, and I didn't want to take that risk. So we're going to probably have to do what I did for Hela, which is during some of the time skips show the general idea of what I'm doing, but then I'll need to get the camera out of my face and get in there with a tiny brush just to try and make sure everything looks as neat as I can make it. With that out the way, it's probably going to be a little bit of a complicated paint because of how many intricate lines he's got on his costume, but at the same time it's very colourful. So we're going to see three main contrast paints at work today. We're going to see Warp Lightning, which we're going to start with first to do all the dark green parts of his costume. Then after that, we're going to try a new contrast, well, new in terms of being shown on film, but I showed off some work done in it. We're going to try Vulpus Pink. Let's put it on this side because that's where the light shines. We're going to get Vulpus Pink, and that's going to do the purplish parts of his armour. And I know it says Vulpus Pink. I tested it on the Gambit miniature that I painted. It's halfway between pink and purple, and I think it's the perfect kind of shade we're looking for, because the only other option in terms of contrast paint would be Shyless Purple. Seen that plenty of times in this series, way too dark. Then the third colour we'll be using, which I haven't also used on camera for quite some time, is Plaguebearer Flesh, and that'll be for the light green parts and his cape. And then we'll do some Basilicum Grey on the base just for the stone, and in order to add his phasing effect, we'll probably add some kind of, maybe Ithrimatic Blue or Talisar Blue, just to show the phasing effect on the rock there. I think I haven't used Plaguebearer Flesh on camera since painting a Death Guard. I can quickly show you. You'll see this better in a Getting Stuff Painted update in a couple of weeks, but this is actually a Protectron from Fallout Wasteland Warfare done in Plaguebearer Flesh, but then I went over it with a heavy Agrax because it's got to look mucky and post-apocalyptic, but it's still good paint. That's the one that came slightly damaged when I first bought contrast paints, and I'm not 100% sure it's mixed properly, but it gets the effect done. So we're going to see these three main colours on display. We're going to start with Warp Lightning. We don't need to be super careful with Warp Lightning, so I'll probably be able to show all of that application, but from there it'll be a lot of careful application of the other two. Still, let's get started. So hopefully this is in focus. I'm having problems with the lighting today because we've got more storms, because of course we do. But that is the Warp Lightning applied. Not a great application. Also, this is just going to be absolute pain because of all the thin lines required. So I'm not sure how neat it's going to look. I have cleaned up, and that's why this is open, just to remind me. I've also used a smaller than usual brush to try and do neat cleaning, but a little bit more of the Gracier applied just on areas that needed tidied a little bit. The Vulpus Pink is going to be the next thing we use, which is basically the underarms, his face, the trim. Then eventually we're going to highlight certain areas with the Plaguebearer Flesh, like these bits around his chest, and his cape will be done last. But in order to try and get the Vulpus Pink on smoothly, not going to worry about the parts that are going to be Plaguebearer Flesh. I'll just pick them out again in Gracier after the next time lapse. Just trying and doing my best not to make it bleed into the Warp Lightning. It might happen, that's why you wait until the contrast dries, because if you do, just quickly wipe your brush and you'll hopefully be able to wipe off most of it. So Who knows how clean this is going to end up being. I'm taking a shot at it either way. We're going to do the Vulpes Pink on all the highlights, and then after the time skip, clean it up again. Let's see how this turns out. So we're checking in with the Vulpes Pink done. I do not think it applied that well, unfortunately, and I think that's down to using the small size brush that I did to try and keep it neat. It meant that you weren't getting a thick coat, you were getting many strokes of a thin coat, and therefore it led to it being quite splotchy. Now I also used Gracier again to touch up the bits that are now going to be done in Plaguebearer Flesh, which will mean that there's less purple, purplish pink, whatever, once that's applied, and that will hopefully detract from it not looking super fantastic. I did ever so slightly use some Moot Green just to try and clean up the original Warp Lightning bits a bit. Not super fantastic, I would say, but all that remains in terms of Vision's body is the Plaguebearer Flesh. Then we'll worry, oh, and his cape, and then we'll worry about the base after that and the effect of him phasing through the wall here. So let's see if this is going to be a disaster or not as we apply Plaguebearer Flesh. So that's the Plaguebearer Flesh layers done. Again, I don't think this is turning out particularly well, unfortunately, but we will continue on. So the next step for contrast would be Basilicanum Grey all over the base, and then leaving it to dry and then doing the touch-ups and the non-contrast work, which would be using a yellow of some variety. It's quite glowy, it's probably just a little bit of like... Flash Gets Yellow is probably bright enough for the stone in his head, stone in his chest, black for the outer rim once the grey's dried. So I don't think we're going to need to do another time skip for the sake of just applying the grey, because it's just grey on rock. And then once that's fully dried, a little bit of Thalasar blue mixed, like do Thalasar blue on the inside, and then on the outside do a little bit of Aethermatic blue as well, just to show that he's phasing through the rock essentially. So let's see if I can save this miniature. We'll do a fade out and a fade in to the finished thing. And so sometime later we have the finished Vision. Was he saved? No, not really. The colours are a little darker than I would have hoped for. It made him kind of look like Mr. Miracle from DC. I did a little bit of edge highlighting on the Plaguebearer Flesh contrast parts with Nurgling Green, which I think would have been a better green compared to how the official art goes, then with a wash. I also used that as a little bit of a highlight on his cape, as we will show, as despite not being happy with how this turned out, giving you the hashtag Gero360 spin for your enjoyment. And I used the contrast that I explained previously on the base there, the Thalasar blue and Aethermatic, whatever it's called, blue as well. But yeah, this one, I mean, it's a hard model to paint, I feel, but I don't think contrast paints did the best they could, and I don't think this is a case of me being too hard on myself. I think this is just a case of not every experiment with contrast paint turns out well, and this is one of them that did not. But that's okay. The Winter Soldier turned out okay, which is the other half of the box that Vision was in. You'll get a better look at him once I do the next Getting Stuff Painted update. But no, it didn't work out too well, partially because using a thin brush with contrast means you're not getting enough on for that thick coat that then dries and highlights the edges while keeping the deeper parts solid. So that was my own mistake there, but because of all the little, I don't know what to call them, divots in his suit, there wasn't any other way to do it. What might have worked is building up each layer. Like I did it in the opposite order. I did green, purple, and then the lightest colour because it's easier to clean up light colours. But maybe going the other way around would have been a better idea. Doing the whole thing in Plague Bearer Flesh, picking out the green on top of that to lead to thicker dark green. The purple would have been a bit riskier, but overall it might have turned out better. Either way, that was my attempt at Vision. Definitely not the best. I encourage you to check out some of the previous Crisis Protocol videos compared to this one to see contrast work actually doing well. I'm not sure what will be next. We shall see in the future. Thank you very much for watching this video though. I hope at least you got some enjoyment if you didn't get anything else. See you next time. Ta for now.